Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome back for another edition of the Quantum Compass. That's right, everybody. It's endings and beginnings time, right?
Yes, it's the moment for rebirth, and not only in the galactic spin of the Tzolkin, but also the astrological year and so many other cycles. So we'll talk more about it during the show.
Right, so happy Ostara, happy Aries equinox to each and every one of you out there. This is, as we've already outlined, quite a auspicious, powerful time that we're in, and we're recording this episode of Quantum Compass, as always, a few days ahead of the incoming wave spell. So we literally just passed through the equinox gate yesterday, and of course we have a couple of Cazimis coming up in the next few days, which we are going to touch on a little bit, but this really is the time of endings, but also the time of beginnings. And we're about to head into a new Tzolkin, right? So we're going to be looking at all of that today and having a look at the astrological transits. It doesn't ease up. It just gets more and more progressive, more expansive, and it's buckle up buttercup time, I would say.
I think it's the exciting moment, the moment we've been waiting for. I feel is part of the beginning of what the Aquarian age is, with Neptune moving into Aries, which we'll talk about as well, with Venus star point, with the new Tzolkin. There is so much energy for a new beginning. And for the beginning of what I feel is the cosmic humans. It's our new frequency, and we all have access to it. It just requires a little bit of work.
Right, so that is why we've labeled this video or titled it The Birth of New Earth and the Cosmic Human. That is a process that actually has been unfolding pretty much since about a year ago, but we're going to be looking in more detail today at how that could start to manifest into our 3D world, thus bringing heaven to earth. That is really what this whole gig is about, I would suggest. And we should be having fun with it. It's been the focus of a lot of our tribal calls, right, Bella, the last couple of weeks. Having fun, being in the moment, enjoying the synchronistic magic, and most of all, having a little jig in your step and doing everything with a fair dose of joy. Because in the end, if we're not enjoying ourselves, then perhaps our focus is in the wrong place. And as we head into this new Tzolkin and really encouraging many of you to make the switch that we already have some time back and many of our tribe members have into a different way of both living, but most of all being and experiencing time. Time is art.
And if you've been asking yourself, when do I jump into a new Mayan Tzolkin? This is the moment to do it. This is a new beginning, and we'll guide you through the process, wave spell by wave spell. This is a perfect moment to start, to shift the time into natural time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like a Gregorian New Year, but this one is much better because it's authentic and actually works to universal time. And if you really want to get into the flow, we're going to be sharing a lot more through our YouTube membership page and more coming up on that in the next couple of days and providing more regular little bits of content here and there. We, of course, do the Quantum Compass show. I do the daily shorts. We've had immersions, and occasionally me and Leslie Shankman do a cosmic history code, and I'm sure we have a few more of those, all of which is just adding kind of more juice, we can say, to the container. So should we get into the presentation, Bella? I know we've got a lot to get through today. Alrighty.
Good. And the beginning of the Tzolkin is with the red dragon. We can see here the glyph of the red dragon. But first, I want to take us to the bigger cycles, because I think it's important to look at the macro to come into the micro moment.
Sure.
And with the great cycle or the long count, which is part of the calculations and the calendars from the Maya, they started a cycle count in 3113 BC. So this was the one, this was a big cycle that ended in 2012. It was the end of 13 Bactuns, which is a cycle of about almost 400 years. And so what's happened since then, since 2012, is we have aligned with the galactic center, and it is the moment to reclaim the new frequency, the new time, and as part of that, reconnect to source and reclaim our divine powers. And we hear all the time, people are getting more psychic and more the telepathy is going online. And everything we've done in our courses in QPW is about learning to access our multidimensional selves. How do we work with our multidimensionality? At the moment, we're receiving so much solar platinum plasma waves from the central sun, which we call Hunabku, and this is amplifying the transformation. So I'm absolutely convinced that this is the reset moment for us to access that frequency of a cosmic human. We're going into the galactic consciousness, restoring balance, a moment of redemption and integration of all of that divine part of ourselves that we have been disconnected from.
Right, so the energy and the light hitting the planet is really inviting us all to expand and receive more light, be more light filled. But of course, in order to do that, we have to make sure that we have space for that light, which is the process of becoming a cosmic human.
And one of the things that we do at this point is understand more of the wavespell technology, which is a pulsar. It's very advanced technology, which can be used for many things. At a personal level, for restoration of our magnetism, of our vitality, reactivation of our psychic skills, especially telepathy. If we talk about historic processes, this part of the technology also allows us to make corrections of imbalanced collective social patterns, and even to identify where things need rebalancing and how we can do it all through the work that we've been doing with the tribe. We'll share a little bit more about that, but we can all do something wherever we're on the planet. When it comes to a planetary level, we can repair areas that are affected by pollution and toxic substances. Once we understand more of this technology, everything is electromagnetic, and we can work with the biochemical transductions, with atoms, molecules, with the periodic tables, with astrophysics, because everything is interconnected. We just need to learn to speak the same language and work with those frequencies. We can also work with this technology at an interplanetary level, where there is that creation of the circumpolar rings for peaceful interplanetary relations. So it's where we start working with our heart and activating the rainbow bridge and the energy that will bring more harmony and balance. The whole process of ascension is about harmonizing ourselves with the energy of the planet and the galaxy, for sure. Anything you want? Mm-hmm. And to a galactic level, we can explore more of the higher dimensional spiritual functions, and increase our consciousness, reconnecting to universal time, which is what we do here with the 13 moons and with the Tzolkin, and reconnecting with the galactic flow. So this is a moment of a new galactic spin, meaning the Tzolkin or the sacred round. This is a very important moment to be paying attention. And if we've been thinking about a reset moment, when is it going to happen? I think it's happening now. We have the beginning of the Tzolkin, the equinox moment, which is the beginning of the astrological year. We have the move of Neptune, which is the last, one of the last planets, going into Aries. We already had Pluto moving to Aquarius. I think it's a perfect reset moment. The Venus star point is also showing us with the eclipses. Okay, ends of everything, and we're going into rebirth process.
Yeah, 100%. And when we get to the astrology later, we'll see it showing us that in a different way. And that's what's beautiful about the way that we layer in these different ways of looking at things, is that if it's all coherent, well, then it comes out actually telling the same story no matter how you look at it.
Mm-hmm. And so let's go to the compass as such. So we're still in the year of the storm. A year here is calculated from the 26th of July to the 24th of July. So we'll finish this one on the 24th. It's still the year of the blue rhythmic storm. What does that mean? That there are many changes that we're being catalyzed, prepared to change internally, and our nervous system, so that we go into the new time. But we can also be the catalyzers. We can be the ones at the center of this storm of transformation, catalyzing our environment and the people around us, because it's part of the process. But because it's rhythmic, it means that the intention is to reach a point of balance and harmony through all of these amount of changes. So the idea is to flow with the changes that are going to come very strongly until about July 24th.
So I have a question here for you, Bella. Maybe our audience might be thinking the same thing too. So we know that there are 4 year bearers to the lunar calendar, and they rotate, so we get the same glyph every 4 years. But is it always a blue rhythmic storm, or will
No,
the tone will
the tone
change?
will change, yeah.
Okay.
But it's always the four bearing ones.
Oh, okay.
And this is a sentence that we got from Zach, the Ascended Master, when I was putting together the Mayan Time and Magic course. And he said, yes, you want to be sharing with people that you're going to spell into being. So following a wave spell is getting our frequency, getting our DNA into attunement with that frequency of the universal time and the galactic time. So all of this process with the storm is very important because it's clearing and quickening our physical, mental, emotional, and etheric bodies, getting rid of all of the density of everything that we haven't processed so far. But at the same time, activating our DNA, processing the amount of light and solar flares that are coming to us. We are undergoing biological changes, and it's not only us, the plants, the animals, everything is getting an upgrade at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go into the 13 moons. Let's remember that we follow 13 moons and the cycle of the Tzolkin. Two calendars working at the same time in synchronization. I like to call it the galactic cycle. And these 13 moons are an instrument to rebalance ourselves with number 13, to recover our powers, to rebalance masculine and feminine within ourselves, to attune us into these time cycles that help us create more awareness, to be more present, and to reconnect to the bigger cycles. Right. So currently we are on the solar moon of intention, which goes up to April the 3rd. And is when we ask these questions, the 13 questions for the 13 days, you can also ask the same questions for every moon. And in this case is, what is my intention for the rest of the year? And the powerful thing here is that we have this totem, which is the jaguar, telling us that we want to be strong, we want to go into our shamanic selves and be able to have leadership skills, be very clever, use our psychic skills, because the jaguar is very much a shaman within all of these cosmology and archetypal astrology. We've talked a lot about the jaguar, but because we're also going to enter the next moon, I want to talk a little bit more about the next one, which is moon number 10, and it's called the planetary moon of manifestation, which is going to start on April the 4th, right towards the end of the wave spell, and it'll go up to May 1st. Everything to do with this totem, which is a dog, is about being unconditional when it comes to love and loyalty. This beautiful totem has been portrayed in so many different civilizations and cultures. Even the hunter Orion of the Greek mythology was always accompanied by a dog, which was called Sirius. Yeah. And here we can connect this to Sirius as the star system, which is also very much part of the Mayan cosmology. The cycles of Sirius are part of the calculations of the Mayan calendars, a 52-year cycle in connection to Sirius. The goddess Artemis was depicted with divine hunting dogs as well. But the dog as a whole, as a spirit animal, is about loyalty, being faithful, having friends, having a group.
About heart energy.
Heart energy, absolutely, being in your heart. Protection, devotion, and some people believe that angels can turn themselves into dogs for the purpose of safeguarding a person or a family. And I absolutely love this totem. It's one of my oracle ones. Good. So that was the moons. We're going from the moon 9 to moon 10. Now let's talk about the Tzolkin. This is where it's a whole new beginning of the sacred round or Tzolkin. We can also call it a new galactic spin. We're starting again a cycle of 260 days, which is the time that of gestation, like a 9-month process of a baby can be formed within this time, but many things can be born. It's a process of creation. What are you ready to create at this point of your life? And we're going to have 260 days to put all of the energy into that.
Right. So one of the questions that we get a lot, I'm just going to re-emphasize, even though I think you've done a great job of explaining, Bella, just to clarify for some people, the lunar calendar we were just talking about is the same every year. It starts on the same day, goes through the same cycle. So the days and months will always be the same. The Tzolkin is the 260-day calendar, the one that we normally look at the most, but that does not always
No, that keeps on spinning.
it keeps on spinning. So the two calendars are separate. And we know that some people have been asking us this question recently. So just wanting to really clarify, there are two calendars, one with the moon, 364 days, one with the sun, 260 days. And this is what we're looking at here is the 260 day.
And with the 260 day, I covered this a lot in the Mayan time and magic course, but even from the time of the Olmec, we're talking about 2000, 3000 BC, they already follow this sacred calendar, which is the ones that reconnects us to the 1320 frequency. It helps us heal. It helps us reconnect to love, reconnect to the natural flow of life, the frequency of the planet, and even the galactic frequency.
There is a lot to all of this, and at the risk of repeating many of our other videos, we just want to emphasize that we do see that this is a very, very important part of the reshaping of the very fabric and structure of the reality that we live in, because we understand that a cut was made between 12 and 13. We've covered all of this in many other videos, but in case you're new to this material, this fundamental shift changed our world and got us into the habit of thinking in 5-day working weeks with weekends and all of these kinds of things that have actually given us this false perception of the flow of time, which never stops. We've been sort of encouraged to think about, hey, take a time out, hit pause, kick the can down the road. It doesn't matter because time can be stopped whenever we decide. So normally at a Friday, 5 o'clock, according to the Western world. In universal time, which we've very much been reconnected to now because the fabric of the structure got combusted really beautifully with that Saturn Cazimi just a few days ago, we are very much in this flow. And once you step into this flow, which is all around us now, it just keeps moving forwards. And there isn't any of that sense, hey, I'll just hit pause, take a time out, come back to this in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. By that point, the flow is already somewhere else.
Yeah, so this 1260 system was installed since the time of the Sumerians. Then it moved to the Babylonians and it carried on with the Romans. And we inherited this system, which is all about taxation and not only a way of taking energy from the people, but getting you to work and get the energy from you. So it's all designed to do specifically that. But we are moving into a whole new earth where we will get to be more of what we came to do. We came here to experience life, to experience love, and to harmonize ourselves with the frequency of the planet. We have a crystalline structure within ourselves, which is increasing. The more of those light codes that we're receiving, the more silica that we're activating within ourselves. We're changing from carbon to silica and to a higher vibration from 3D to 4 and 5D. So right now, the purpose is to harmonize with the frequencies of the planet and the influx that is coming from the center of the galaxy. And I wanted to share these. We've been doing some planetary geomancy with the group, with our tribe, and everybody is welcome to do some of these. We identify the different regions around the planet, and what we do is we reconnect as a cosmic family, and we send love and rainbow frequencies and love frequencies to different areas of the planet, and we connect with the rest of the people. We have people everywhere. I think almost across all of the time zones.
Oh, for sure, across all of the time zones, and actually in a good majority of these glyph locations, even including some like down here with the Skywalker, we have people in South Africa, and we have people way over here in Australia and New Zealand, and even over in Hawaii. So I don't think we have any of our tribe up in Russia yet. So putting a call out to any of our viewers who might be in Russia and want to get involved. But Bella's right, we've been connecting with this very strongly. In the mystical column immersion that we did, but also in our weekly Sunday calls that we do, We the Cosmic Humans. So if you want to get involved more in that, please do check out the show notes and head over to the QPW site.
And with this beginning of the Tzolkin, we can see where the glyph is. The glyph of the dragon is part of that bioregion, which includes Asia and the Middle East, but specifically Egypt. The Giza pyramid is at the beginning of this process of the geomancy of the planet. Teotihuacan in Mexico is also a very important point, but the beginning of the grid starts with the Giza Plateau. And we know that some information was released just in the last couple of days about the amount of things they found kilometers underneath the pyramids, the amount of technology and chambers. If you haven't heard about it, do research it. It's really interesting. But what we wanted to share with you is that we want to start this Tzolkin with lots of people going to a sacred site, whether it's a stone circle, a mountain, special tree, a pyramid, and everybody is going to gather on day one of the Tzolkin, which is the day of the dragon, the 25th of March, at noon. Wherever you are in the planet, the intention is to harmonize ourselves with the new time, with the new earth, and all we want to be able to do is send love, compassion, and the intention of a new beginning for all of us.
Right, so this in many ways is building on from work that we did in the Artemisia immersion a couple of years ago. And actually, I think it's interesting that Bella highlighted Artemis because that's going to be connected to the planet of the day, which is also another way of connecting to the dragon networks, which is another way of saying that we're connecting to the ley lines of the earth, the telluric currents. The dragons very much represent the elementals. And of course, whenever we start a new Tzolkin, as we're going to see in a minute, we start with dragon energy. So there are a lot of layers to all of this. It's not some fancy sort of head candy idea just to connect grids. This is actually something where we're working on us being the nodal points, but then connecting into the grid of Mother Earth and directly to the dragon so that that energy can unfold over the next 260 days.
Exciting. We're very excited to see people going on different explorations,
adventures,
missions,
missions. Yeah.
Right. So, as I was saying before, it's all about harmonic resonance. Is your frequency already aligned, or are you still in anxiety and judgment, fear, worry, or are you trusting and getting yourself realigned with this, the fractal nature of the universe, which is telling us, the real universal natural matrix is a 1320 frequency.
Right. And if you think about it, everybody, if we understand that the 1260 calendar is related to, first of all, being made to work a working week and then being taxed from it, that's a double whammy that's taking universal time away from us and universal wealth abundance. So if you're still operating in that system and not feeling that energy, that's possibly why, because you're still plugged into the system that was designed to enslave you in that way. And of course, also can increase anxiety through that mechanism. So perhaps this is the moment to let go of all of those things and open yourself up to the universal flow, which does mean making some alterations, but it doesn't have to be something so bone jarring, does it, Bella?
And it doesn't matter if you're still part of the system, if you still have a regular job. What we've done for the last 3 years is to try to transition between the Gregorian to the Mayan. But at this point, many of the people that have done our courses and are more keen on following this new way of time, the natural time, is a whole different experience, because every day is energy, is a different energy that you can work with, and you feel the attunement within yourself and the process unfolding.
And I'm sure that many of you who watch this video are aware of the daily shorts that I put out, but if you haven't, please do check out the video shorts on this YouTube platform, where I just give a sort of 2 to 3 minute overview, just layering through the different coordinates, because once we understand how much there is to play with, we can be super creative.
Right, so the sacred round is also called the Tzolkin, and we're starting a whole new one. It's all to do with celestial harmonics. It's a cycle of 260 days. It's 260 because it's 20 different glyphs and 13 different tones. We'll be going into 20 different wave spells. So on the 25th, we start our wave spell number 1. We'll also go through 5 different castles, which represent the elements. So we're starting with the fire element and the east with the color red. And each castle has 52 days. In one castle, we have 4 wave spells. I'm repeating here a little bit because I know that there are lots of new people that want to get more familiar with the whole Tzolkin. But all of this information is covered in the course if you're interested in learning more about it. But here I'm just doing a little summary. And what we're doing with this is, these are mind technologies that activate our telepathic skills and reconnect us to the noosphere, which is the planetary mind. I also wanted to show how the 20 are reflected, it's reflected in our bodies, but also number 13. Each one of the glyphs is reflected as an energy, not only in our fingers, our toes, also our articulations, number 13. But I had confirmation that it's also part of our DNA. Number 20 is connected to the amino acids and our DNA. I'm doing some more research on that I want to be able to share in the near future. But what I wanted to say is that this is just a reflection of how our body is our time traveling vehicle for interdimensional traveling. And we're getting back that memory of the waveforms of the galaxy. Everything in the galaxy is in the form of the wave, same as light, same as sound. Even our periodic table of elements is in the shape of a spiral. And I'm also doing a little bit more research on that to share with you, because we have been disconnected from that natural spiral, the golden mean ratio, which everything is created. Plants grow in that form. Everything in the universe has the same form.
I think we're really, in many ways, the more that we go into these deeper layers of this technology, right, Bella, that we're getting the fractal nature of the holographic universe just showing itself over and over and over again. It doesn't matter where you put your attention, it'll still keep performing to that coherency, right?
Mm-hmm. And if we think that the core of the planet is crystalline as well, and so is our structure. Our bodies are crystalline structures that vibrate within the Earth's resonant field. So that is what we are harmonizing with those frequencies. And the more we align with those natural rhythms, the more we awaken our innate intelligence, our telepathy, our intuition, our consciousness of what else there is out there in the galaxy.
Exciting.
Yes, an activation of our 12 strands of DNA, which is already undergoing. We're in the middle of these metamorphoses. So we're starting a whole new Tzolkin. We can see here a representation on the left. We start with the 4 directions. Red is the color of initiation. We're about to start the red side, the red castle. I can see it here, yeah. So the red color and the very first wave spell in a castle of 52 days. So you could even work with 13 days processes, 52 days processes, or 260-day processes. Everything is a fractal. You could work with something for 13 moons, even 13 years. So because it is a fractal, by the time we are 13, we undergo huge changes. Then at 26 and 52 is the time when we complete a whole cycle and we come back to a new beginning, is when we step into our mastery by the time we turn 52.
Right, and this is one of the reasons that I love this technology, Bella. So we have this first castle of 52 days, which is 4 wave spells, but each one is representing the 4 elements in itself. So it's always a fractal, a fractal,
Always
a
a
fractal.
fractal.
So perhaps maybe what could be interesting is here, I was just making some notes. So this is a red castle of initiation with a red dragon of initiation, starting a new Tzolkin. What perhaps could we think about initiating in a 52-day cycle in terms of the 260?
Because it's all about birth. It's about putting the fire into your project, putting the fire into the idea, This wave spell we're finishing of the yellow star is helping us finish the previous Tzolkin and cycle. So what ideas came to your mind that will help you be more of who you truly are, show more of your talents and gifts? So even one of the projects could be, I want to be more of my true self. I want to allow myself to be reborn into who I truly am. It could be as big as that, or it could be as small as just a project, a gardening project, or something you want to give birth to.
So anyone who's been on any of the immersions with us, including the very powerful recent one, the mystical column, the free trees, we always do those immersions over 13 days. Yes, it's quite a lot to hold for 13 days, but the reason we've done that, as many of you who watch these videos will have done with us, is because it gives us that very good example of how to use the 13 days, because there's a whole step from 1 to 13, which of course we've talked about before. And perhaps over the last couple of weeks, we've had some very powerful Cazimis and eclipses and download points. So hopefully many of you who've been tuning in and asking to connect with your higher self and the other energies at work may have received the thing that you want to birth, or maybe you haven't. Maybe you've been distracted, or mind's been on other things. Maybe this is the opportunity to receive what it is that you want to birth, right?
That's why I think the quantum compass is very useful, because when you combine the astrology and the galactic calendars, then you get the bigger picture of what is the universe helping you create at this point. That's why I wanted to talk a little bit about Venus, because I think it's showing us the new codes that are about to come. Neptune also telling us is a whole new world about starting here during this wave spell even.
Right.
So I think the combination of both will give you more ideas what is it we're going to be creating individually and as a collective.
Well, anyway, you put here, we are the artists, the co-creators, we are the catalyzers. It's really everything that's happening now is coming from the collective mind space. There is no one person that's going to show up and tell us it's all going to be okay and we can finally lift ourselves off the sofa and re-enter into the normal world. This is us. It's us, the unified field that is directing everything. And I think that that's really important.
And there are still people that seem to think that New Earth or 5D is a place we're going to. We're not going anywhere. It's here, but it's about raising our vibration, raising our frequency to match that of the template of New Earth, where we are capable of changing. Remember, we live in a holographic universe, and what we're doing is changing the holographic reality around us to be more of like thriving, everybody,
Heart consciousness.
yeah, heart consciousness, love, and everything we want, where everybody's taken care of. And that is the intention we want to keep on putting out there. So here on the board, we can see the wave spell. It runs from day 1 with a galactic activation portal, and it ends on day 13 with a Skywalker, a cosmic Skywalker here. David has his galactic
boy.
And this wave spell runs from March 24th up to April the 6th. Here I'd like to highlight the archetypes. It's good to color. If you have a journal and you're starting to follow this Tzolkin, it's a great idea to color day by day. What is the glyph of the day? What is the tone of the day?
So actually, can I just take a second here, Bella? When I was recovering last year from my accident and was bedridden, I actually went into this a lot of detail, journaled every day, made notes about the glyph of the day, the astrology of the day. I'd take card readings. And when I look back now, I can see so much material that is still cycling through in loops and deltas. So there is a lot of value I would invite everyone to participate in, which is to have a daily journal. You don't have to write reams and reams if you don't want, but just mark down the key coordinates of all the things that we often share in the QC show. And maybe just a few key words. How does it play out? Maybe take a tarot card reading for the day. Because when you look back, even a couple of weeks later, you suddenly see more information coming out of the little term or gestalt that you gave yourself, but then is somehow part of a sequence. And the more that you get used to this, the more that you can cycle backwards and forwards, understanding all of the different energies. And that's a really great way to get to know them better.
You get to see the patterns of what happened to Tzolkin before or the castle before. And we've seen this is the third Tzolkin that we record on YouTube. So we're already seeing
Right.
what's been happening in the previous ones, and now we go into the higher nodes in this next cycle. We're super excited about
And
it.
even when you track back, not just with the Mayan stuff, but with the astrology, I mean, over the last year, we've been really charting the Cazimis. And it's
Yeah.
interesting to see from the Saturn Cazimi we just had back to the one a year ago and what happened a year ago. And it's like you can suddenly see that the planets and the stars and the Mayan time codes are telling you a story. It's your soul telling you a story that somehow you're participating in, but also being guided by at the same time.
Mhm.
And that's where the magic really kicks in.
So the red magnetic dragon wave spell, and it has amazing qualities, but the main focus and what I'm recommending is start thinking of the purpose you have for not only these 13 days, but the bigger purpose for 260 days. What is it you are ready to do? It's in your heart. You want to do it now. You feel that the time is right. You've been thinking about it, but now you can start putting the pieces in place. The qualities of the red dragon is divine nurturance and support. So whatever you're thinking of starting is divinely supported. It's a moment of birth and new beginnings. We are supported by primal source. It's a moment of initiating. It's connected to primal waters and primal energy of the dragon's energy, the primordial mother, the source of life. It's an energy that is receptive. It's connected to receptivity, self-love, and it's also connected to the blood in our bodies. Let's think of the blood as being the source, the primordial energy, our primal waters. The shadow that we could encounter within these 13 days, it has to do with issues of trust. Do you trust the universe is going to help you? Do you trust that you'll be able to achieve whatever you're wanting to do? Another shadow is the lack of self-love. And here we all have higher or lower levels of that. So I invite everyone to do a review of how much do you love yourself so that you put yourself first in this new earth, in this new cycle, in this reset moment. More shadow is to feel unsupported. It could be by friends, family, partners, whoever. But here we want to remember we have the universe and source energy supporting us in this process. We're never alone. More shadow could be to feel unworthy to receive. So if there are still any limiting beliefs around that, I do invite you to process them during this wave spell. Also, any wounds of betrayal and abandonment are key to process during this wave spell. Again, I'd like to say that the key to resolving many of those things is number one, self-love, to do your release and clearing process, to be open to receive and to trust that the universe is always supporting us. And you want to know what your mission is. That is super important. What is your purpose? What did you come to do?
So I think it's amazing that this new Tzolkin starts with all of these energies, which of course is no coincidence, but perhaps more than ever, this is a moment where we want to feel that we're not separated from anybody, from God even, that we're not disconnected and that we haven't been abandoned or betrayed, because that's not true. That's part of the fallen of the disconnection. And this is the moment that we either choose to heal that and move forwards and remember that we are part of the whole.
And
Maybe
you
not.
know what is going to be key here is Neptune moving into Aries. It's going to show us a lot of that illusion of separation. We're understanding more and more. We're all interconnected. We can even connect to the planetary grid. We're connected to everything, the plants, the animals, people. But we want to recognize that and know how to interact from a higher octave. That's why it's so important to do the inner work. So I'll wrap up this part of what about the wave spell, saying put your dreams, your desires into this wave spell and keep a journal of what is going to happen within this wave spell. And if you feel that things are working for you, continue to follow wave spell through wave spell and through these shows if you want to. The 13 tones are reflected in our body as well. So I showed with the different articulations, they are the 13 tones of movement and creation. And what you can do is on day one, you want to have defined your purpose. And then day by day, you can follow those questions and just journal. It's a 5-minute exercise that you can do every morning to know what is the glyph and what is it that I'm supposed to be processing or reflecting on.
Right, and as we've said to everybody over the last few years, and particularly new members to our tribe, don't necessarily try to learn this all at once if it's new for you. Do add in what you can as you go along. And so these new bits and pieces we're adding in are because we want to see more of the fractal nature.
Let me share about the metaphor. So in the last immersion, I was saying, because we shared a lot of information in that immersion called the mystical column. So I was sharing the metaphor that, it's like being in the 3 lanes, the slow lane, the middle lane, and the fast lane. And in an immersion, you just take whatever you can, a little bit here. If you have done more of the courses, you're probably in the middle lane. If you've done everything, you're in the fast lane, and the conversation is so much far out and multidimensional. And I had a session with a lady today, and she said, "You know what? I think I'm on the bike lane."
The hard shoulder.
But I'm ready to catch up. So it doesn't matter where you're at. The idea is that you keep on moving. And if it's just about knowing what is the glyph of the day, that's good enough.
I know, I'd like to take this opportunity to share. Maybe we all learn differently, and some people like to sit down and get all of the information and learn it by rote. This kind of material, I would suggest, is much better living experientially day by day. That's how I did it for the first year since.
It's meant to be.
It's meant to be, because otherwise we get into our head, and this is part of what we're trying to let go of from the old world. This is where we've been manipulated. The mind is part of the whole system that we're exiting, and so it's more about feeling. And if you can take anything each day, it's just to feel into the glyph, maybe feel into the context of the wave spell, and just see how it's playing out for you, but give it some intention and focus. That's it. It doesn't have to be anything more than that, but if you're comfortable with that, you can start looking at the 52, the 260 layers and cycles. There's always more, because this is fractal.
And follow the synchronicities. What are you called to? What movie, what book, what video? And just keep on following that. And the universe will guide you in your higher self. You just need to be open to receive. Receptivity is part of this wave spell. And it is really important if you want to start following the Tzolkin or following everything we've been doing, to know how to follow the 13 days. And for that, we created the navigation guide to quantum consciousness, which I wanted to put in offer at 50% because it is the beginning of the Tzolkin. And the best way to learn how to guide yourself day by day, tone by tone, even your energy. We all have one of those energies, to understand deeper what it is about, to understand the process of going through the dimensions in a 13-day wave spell. This is the best way to do it.
So this is an amazing offer. We're really wanting to give as many of you as encouragement as possible. We don't just put these courses out because we think they're cool and a bit of head candy. We put them out because we want to re-educate all of us so that we can move forwards in a different way. But like any kind of re-education, you have to sit and learn for a little bit. But it can be fun. Each one of these 13 juicy chapters are somewhere between sort of an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. There is a lot of content that Bella put into each one of these. Each one is a journey into a different dimensional aspect of yourself and of the universe. Hence why it's called a navigation guide to quantum consciousness. Once you get to chapter 13, you will be experiencing quantum consciousness, as everyone who's done this, including us, has discovered. It does exactly what it says on the tin. So really encouraging each and every one of you who want to learn more, and step into this fractal time, mainly because it's essential, I think, as we move forwards, but how to make it work for you. It's not just something that has to be an arduous task. It's something that's going to give us more time to be creative, which I think is pretty cool.
And if you want a little bit more, if you want to know more about the history of the calendars, a more solid foundation on how to work with the glyphs, with the Tzolkin, what all the calendars there were, then we have the Mayan Time and Magic course. It's already been reduced in price so that more people can access it.
Bella, one of the questions that people often ask us, which is, which one should I do first?
Right. I would say follow your intuition, but I was instructed to create first the Mayan time and magic to give more of the bigger background of galactic cycles, history of where did the calendar come from, what are we following, how come we ended up following these wave spells. Everything is here, and how does it help you day by day? Then I would go into the navigation guide. But I think either one can be the beginning of the journey.
And we had a lot of fun doing this course. It was a year ago. It was quite a pivotal moment in our life, but we had a lot of fun doing the deep dives and looking into how time got hacked, looking at various timeline points. Very David and Bella stuff, as you can imagine, but also very interesting. And actually, our way of encouraging each of you out there to also deep dive into time travel and deltas and loops and time itself, because it really is the essence of what is going on here. Time is art.
I don't know how this course was even created while you were going through your operation and recovery, and we were traveling around Mexico trying to get David's operation sorted out. So somehow we were all supported to be able to come up with this, and it's been very helpful.
But also supported by using the Mayan time and magic. That really helped us a lot. So this is basically what's incoming. We are recording this on the 21st of March, so just before these two Cazimis. We have talked about them a lot in the previous Quantum Compass, and of course myself and Leslie did a deep dive into the very, very important and how to say pivotal stars that are getting activated. There are always more stories to be told from the cosmic history codes and the astrology, but we always try to pick the ones that seem to be in the flow of what our meditations are sharing with us, but also what the sort of the goggle box narratives are throwing at us, because somehow it is all linked. And yes, there is a lot of BS out there for sure. But Bella, you've inserted these for a reason, and perhaps you'd like to show our audience a little bit more about why we're having another quick look at the Venus Cazimi, especially, I think.
Yes. So when it comes to the Mayan, they had about 17 calendars, which they use in different combinations, but they were very accurate when it comes to the calculation of eclipses and Venus, the Venus cycle, to the point that they were even more precise with the eclipses and these cycles than the technology that we have now. So imagine we're just catching up with something they were already calculating thousands of years ago.
Right, it's pretty cool.
So Venus was super important for them. To me, what this is telling us now, because right now it's sandwiched in between the two eclipses, is telling us that it is the reset moment. And when Venus is in an inferior conjunction, as it is now, because it's in a retrograde process in the underworld, as it's called in the Mayan cosmology. She's in the underworld doing her journey, her heroic journey, and she's going to come out and then be reborn and then start a whole new cycle. So because I'm seeing that this Venus plus the movement of Neptune plus the equinox plus the beginning of the Tzolkin, there are so many points that are saying is the beginning. If you haven't caught this now, I don't know what you're waiting for. This is the moment to start the new. And so I think the message from Venus is super important. I hope all of you synchronize with, or at least pay attention on the 22nd to what it is telling us. It's a new moment of new relationships, of shining more, bringing more of your true gifts, daring to be who you truly are, shining like Venus does. It's the Chinese planet out there.
Right, so these are incoming still as we record this, of course, but they're going to have dropped by the time the new Tzolkin starts. And so Bella's been looking very much at Venus as part of her ongoing research. But I've had quite an interesting time with Mercury over the last year or so, and tracking what this fellow's been up to, because I feel a very sort of Pegasus energy with Mercury, of course, being the messenger and having quite a strong connection to my own Pegasus self, feeling very much the energy of Mercury in general. And so I'm like, okay, what is it that Mercury wants to share from his experience of its own death and rebirth process? Because that's the other thing. A Cazimi is a combustion point. It's a death and a rebirth. So Venus is going through a death and rebirth. Neptune just went through one. Saturn also went through one. And Mercury's going through one. So this is like almost half the planets in our solar system that are going through a death and rebirth process, which is interesting because with all of this energy at the end of Pisces, which is about the collective, moving into Aries, much more about the self, it's almost like we're going through this series of collective and individual death and rebirth processes.
It feels to me like it's the goddess energy, the sacred feminine now coming back to be part of the new of our story, of our new history, saying, okay, I'm going to leave my mark here in Aries. Let's start all new and let's start being more inclusive with more love, thinking of everybody, taking into account nature, and that everybody is well taken care of, nurtured.
Right, and it's also interesting on these two charts because they're actually in play right now. Is that we have two sort of very goddess energies, really, Sekhmet and Aphrodite, coming together there at 3 degrees of Taurus, I think that is. And it's not on this chart, but also another energy that's very connected to Venus is Quetzalcoatl.
Yes.
Whose asteroid is also conjuncting. It's not on these charts. I think I put it on the other ones. But that is also connecting, in fact, sandwiched between Sekhmet and Aphrodite, which, if I'm not incorrect, sorry, are also opposing Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees of Libra. So there's a whole lot of this kind of goddess energy, Bella, wanting to get realigned, maybe rebalanced, and maybe reaccepted more fully.
And let's remember that this feminine energy is inside all of us, and it's about the reconnection also to the mother energy of the planet, but also feeling nurture ourselves and being in balance of masculine and feminine, healing anything to do with the feminine, but also healing anything to do with masculine, to bring it to that point of I'm capable of receiving love, I'm capable of giving love, I'm capable of receiving abundance, and I can also share my abundance with others. So this is just a little bit of what I wanted to share also about the Venus cycle in the Mayan calendar, or in the cycle that they followed, is the 584 days, is measured from the inferior conjunction, which is happening now on the 22nd of March. And is the morning star process lasts 260 days. The evening star process is 260 days. So it's a fractal of everything that has to do with Maya. That's why they felt it was very close to us. And I do feel that the time of Venus star being here is telling us it's time to include this energy and follow that astrological process more closely, because it's guiding us, and I feel we've been very disconnected from the Venus cycle. The astrology as a whole, I think, is also evolving, and this I think is going to be super key in the new way of following our astrology.
Beautiful. Alrighty, okay. So here we are with the various astrological transits that caught my eye for this incoming wave spell. A few little bits and pieces to look at. Some of them may be more familiar to you, those of you who watch our show regularly. I've got here the chart for the 27th of March, ostensibly to flag up the Venus conjuncting Neptune, Neptune there in that anaretic degree at 2936 of Pisces, but also to flag up the Manawydan asteroid conjuncting Saturn at 2356 of Pisces. So that's what this chart shows. I'll come to that in just a second, but flagging up for all of you who follow this, there is a Black Moon Lilith flashpoint at 2953 of Libra on March the 25th, happening here Central Time 11:55 p.m., which is going to be 4:55 Universal Time on March the 26th. I'm not going to talk too much about the Black Moon Lilith flashpoints, but again, another opportunity for us to send and receive messages to the universe. So I just wanted to flag this one up, Bella, because I think it's really interesting. If we look here at Manawydan, the keeper of the veil, Manannán Mac Lir, as he's also known and that we've done a lot of focusing on recently, is now conjuncting with Saturn. He's caught up to the old boy Kronos, who's been all at sea for quite a while now, and I think has generally happily retired into being more of a grandfather than perhaps being father.
It's a lot like the gig is up.
Yeah, it's like it's been a forced retirement. I don't think necessarily he would have done it willingly, but through a series of astrological processes and with a little nudge from a few of us down here, the system is changing, which is a good thing. And actually, we have a lot of humor giving the planets personalities, but it's also a way to understand them as other types of intelligence. They are also intelligent beings in their own right, they're very powerful ones, so it is good to open up lines of communication, find your own resonance. I actually like Saturn. I love structure and space and containers. I think that in many ways the 13 days is something that Saturn is having to get on board with, a different type of a container. But Manannán is really the guy that was bringing down the veil on the old structure of Saturn. And now he's caught up to Saturn, said, okay, buddy, these guys are old friends. Let's have a little sit down and a chat and say about how the new management is going to be taking control of things as we move forward. There's going to be transparency, no more delusion. And if you're not believing what I'm saying, Saturn, well, let's have a chat with Neptune there at the end of Pisces and see what's going on for him. And let's have a chat with Venus too, and Mercury, all going through their own death and rebirth processes. Saturn is now in the recovery mode, I would suggest, as Manannan comes to speak to him after already being combusted earlier in the current wave spell. So anything you wish to add about Saturn there?
Not about Saturn, but Venus conjunct Neptune. It feels like Venus goes to 2 degrees it's in the 2 degrees on the 22nd, doing the Venus star point, and then it goes and conjuncts Neptune and gives him the new set of instructions, including the new rhythms of Venus as well for the new bigger cycle. Remember that Neptune is entering a cycle of 165 years. So it's a big cycle that is going to give us. Neptune being the higher octave of Venus is also kind of important. It's like, not only are we going to start a new cycle with more of the sacred feminine, but also with more spirituality, intuition, and many other new codes.
Right, beautiful. And, I was just talking there about Mercury and Neptune. And there is this incredible moment on day 5, March the 29th, which is the same day as the new moon solar eclipse, which I think is really interesting there at 8:53 of Aries, is that Mercury is going to conjunct Neptune at 29 degrees and 59 minutes of Pisces. Like, that's literally the last minute.
Yeah.
That's kind of wormwood almost. It's like, it's not done until it's done. And you'd be amazed at what can happen right at the end. Well, what is going to happen right at the end here? So Mercury is still in retrograde, going backwards, meeting Neptune, who is going forward. So there's some sort of almost passing of the baton, passing of a message. And what is that message? Well, that's, I guess, what part of this wave spell is going to be about. But with Neptune shifting for the first time, because there is a retrograde and a bit of backwards and forwards, like there was with Pluto, back and forth into Aquarius from Capricorn over the next year or so. So it's not a one job does it with Neptune into Aries. But this is the first moment where this sort of released Neptunian energy from the veil being dissolved. Actually, how is Neptune going to exist in this new world? And Neptune is also discovering, who am I if I'm no longer the denizen of the watery world? We've said sometimes that we think that Neptune could be a little bit commensurate with the energy of someone like Enki, the fishtail being that lives underneath the sea, maybe connected to fallen civilizations like Atlantis. So that's all speculation, but I think it's interesting to consider that maybe those old timelines, Bella, might resurface.
I think so. I think there's going to be a convergence of timelines of what's happened in the past so that we can create with all of the experience of what's happened so those things don't repeat. All of the old galactic wars, all of the timelines, tsunamis from Atlantis, all of the fall of Lemuria, all of those things, we have learned so much from these processes. And now we want to go into new dreams. That's why there are some Pegasus and whale stars that are getting activated now, because they are supporting the new dream, the new morphogenetic field, the new earth, the new codes, the new templates. So everything is supporting us to go into the new full on with our more spiritual side active.
Love it. And if you haven't watched the Cosmic History Code show, the star that's really catching my attention, I mean, it was all very interesting, all very on point and relevant. And I think that everyone who was tracking that probably has a bigger feel into the bigger picture. But you know what's making me think what's really interesting with the incoming Dragon Wave spell is the star of Diptha, which is a whale star, but also is seen by the Dragon Nation, our primordial DNA, but also our Draco upstream ancestors, as a talismanic star that tells them whatever their mission that they're about to go on. So we can say that the dragon is initiating a new Tzolkin mission is going to be successful. I think that's really beautiful that star is getting triggered literally with the Venus and Mercury Cazimis, and thus will actually also be the energy that we start this new dragon wave spell, and thus the beginning of this Tzolkin with.
Sorry, I wanted to mention, since we're talking stellar nations, lots of people in the tribe have been asking about where do I start with my stellar nations path and what is it? So the stellar nations path is about reconnecting with your galactic codes. We have all the information in the QPW website. We have created modules where Leslie goes in depth into the explanation of each one of the fixed stars, and then the link to order your Antares code. Everything is really well explained on the website Stellar Nations.
Yeah, the link will be in the show notes as always. And the Stellar Nations is really working with what we generally call fixed star astrology, even though they're not exactly fixed, but it's really the sole blueprint behind our natal astrology. It does work with obviously stars in the sky, but it is a little different from astrology. In fact, in many ways, it's easier to learn, although it's all about the universe, but it's directly relevant to us. And as we've been sharing, if you want to talk to your dragon DNA, well, it's already mapped out through the stars that your soul has participated in. And if you're not sure what does that mean or how to do it, that is what the Heaven on Earth course is all about. Going inwards, talking to your dragon primordial DNA, talking to your elemental self. We all have all of these. And anyone who's still thinking that this is a bit mumbo jumbo and woo is perhaps not stepping up into the new earth reality where everything matters, everything is interconnected, whatever exists in nature exists within us. We are made up of minerals and metals and elementals and water and stardust and sunlight and cosmic solar beams and probably a whole bunch of other stuff, which is super cool, right? So once we get into that mode of thinking, Bella, we realize that there is no separation between us and anything else. Even seemingly inanimate objects have a story to tell us. This table was not always a table. Once it was a tree, you know? So there are many things that we can have fun with, but also it's a way of us starting to remember how we are part of the interconnected web of life, and we truly are not disconnected from everything, which is kind of a nice segue there, I think, into the other charts I want to just share with everybody. And so I put here the new moon solar eclipse, again, for the records, 5:48 a.m. Central Time, Universal Time, late in the morning. You can take a snapshot of that. But what I was wanting to just kind of link there was two asteroids, which have been very much in our awareness over the last year for many, many reasons. And they're kind of somewhat self-explanatory. So the Yeshua Cazimi that happened just a few weeks back was incredibly powerful, conjuncting just a few days before there was the Pluto Cazimi. So we did a whole piece on that. But now Yeshua, the asteroid, with all of that Yeshua energy, that Christo consciousness energy, is connecting with the Oak, with the Quercus asteroid, which is interestingly a lot of what we've just been doing in the mystical column. So I wanted to highlight that because to me, it feels like the moment where all of this work that we've been doing, downloading of the grids, shifting out the old matrix, installing the new one, whether it's the Dragon grid, whether it's the Noosphere, whether it's the Christo consciousness grid. This is an entire structure for a whole new reality that not just us here at QPW and on the Quantum Compass, but many beings all over the world, many reincarnated Templar beings, reincarnated geomancers, many probably reincarnated Atlanteans, maybe some who are having to atone for something on other timelines, maybe some wanting to finish a job. In the end, it doesn't really matter. We all decided to come in here and do this job together, which is why we've been encouraging people to get on board with the Dragon wavespell and meeting up on nodal points, because literally we have this energy in the middle of it, which is showing us how to work with the connection to the galaxy, to our cosmic cells, which is the Oak. That's what the Oak was teaching us in the mystical column, and at the same time showing us how to be like the Oak and hold and download the grids that want to go into Mother Earth. We literally can be like the trees. In fact, perhaps we even become trees in the future. Mobile nodal points. So this tells me, Bella, that, you know, as we enter into literally the final moments of this month, certainly here in Central Time, that Yeshua is coming to have a chat with one of, I think, his old teachers. There is a deep connection between the spirit of Yeshua and the spirit of the Oak, and saying, okay, it's time to really make sure that this is a go. Are we ready? Are all of the grids in place? Is this a suitable receptacle for higher dimensional consciousness? Because if we're trying to download a high frequency grid into one that's incredibly dense and polluted and contaminated, it's a bit like oil and water. It ain't going to mix too well. And so that is really the work that we've all been doing for a while now, is to clean up the old grid, lift it. And as it lifts, as we lift our own shadow and our own density, which is pretty much the most powerful thing any one person can do, because when we do that, we have an immediate ripple effect into the grid.
I wanted to share about Neptune entering Aries on the 30th of March, and it's
Right.
the first time that it does so in 165 years.
Wow.
And the 0 point of Aries obviously is a very powerful point of creation. It supports everything to do with this wave spell, which is birthing of new things, birthing of a vision, birthing of your dreams. What is it that you wanted to create for a long time? And it's right after the eclipse on March 29th. So look at the amount of changes that are happening one after the other. So I feel we're in a very powerful window for creation, for putting our energy into it.
Yeah, so we have all of these very, very punctuated moments, I would say. And of course, they're just a moment and then they're gone. But if we put our intention, attention into them a little bit ahead of time, then they will have a kind of a mirroring feedback to us about how is this going to work for us. And this is where we can really start to work with our own inner planetary system. Of course, when we incarnate, we sort of incarnate through all of the planets, with the moon being the last incarnational point before we come into being birthed. And so again, we can talk to our inner Neptune, our inner Mercury, and understand that these are conscious, intelligent beings in the same way that we can talk to the sun.
I agree.
So that's it really for the astrology. Lots to contemplate. We have been talking about this in our flying school calls at QPW. If that's something that perhaps sounds intriguing for you, again, head over to QPW and find out more information. But of course, there's always a plant, and it would really be, I don't know, there couldn't have been too many other plants that wanted to put themselves forward quite as strongly as Artemisia draconculus, which is French tarragon. There's also its Russian cousin, Draconconculides, I think is how you pronounce that. But this is really the little dragon. I think myself and Pete have covered this plant in Web of Weird somewhere else before, but this plant is also really, really on point, not just because it's a little dragon, and we have a cute version of that there, but this is also due to its serpentine roots, which is also partly connected to its magic, which has a reputation for being good against venom, such as common bites and stings from animals, particularly those of a more serpentine nature, as it turns out. So I'm sure we can all draw our own conclusions as to why this might be a useful medicine moving forward as we seek to lift the density and toxins and poisons, particularly venomous poisons, from physical individual bodies, but also the collective space. This plant is very, very good at doing this. It's also great for aiding digestion on a more day-to-day basis, promoting sleep and menstruation or moon cycles. Apparently also good for toothache. Well, certainly the first three are definitely symptoms that people have been expressing to us for a while now. I'm not sleeping well, I'm not digesting food, I'm not able to eat much. Maybe moon cycles have also got messed up a little bit. I actually have been suffering a little bit from toothache, but I think that that's partly the nerve endings in our bodies.
The whole nervous system is being recalibrated. Yes.
I would suggest there are other great plants for toothache too. But so I thought that was really interesting that this plant is able to assist with many things that are going on for many people right now. And of course, it is mostly known as a culinary herb. There is French tarragon, the dracunculus, and the Russian, the dracunculoides, I think maybe is a better way to pronounce it. The French one is better for taste and aroma, and thus is used in cooking. The Russian one is a little more hardy, doesn't have quite the same flavor, but perhaps is good for medicine, particularly. But, you know, this is a very, very powerful plant medicine that you can find in pretty much any supermarket. And many people are often surprised to find out that tarragon is in the same family as wormwood and mugwort, which it is, the little dragon often overlooked.
Something's coming. So, you know how we are suggesting that you go to a special sacred place on the 25th of March, which is the first day. On that day, for those of you who did the Artemisia's immersion, remember how we reconnected the grid through the Artemisias. It's a good moment to go back to that grid and call them back and reactivate it. It's a green light that goes under the earth.
Right, this is a great idea. I love this. And so if you have any dried mugwort or dry wormwood or any kind of dried Artemisia, probably from last year because it's still a bit early for this year, then absolutely, if you go out on the 25th to do the dragon work, which we're talking about a lot in our tribe, to anchor nodal points, absolutely take some dried Artemisia with you if you have some. If you don't have any, well, maybe just pop down to the supermarket and buy yourself some tarragon and sprinkle that and call in the spirit of Artemisia a draconculus, a little dragon, and pop it onto a dragon point. For
Yes.
sure, these are commensurate energies. They're very, very linked to each other. There is also a connection to the serpent beings as well as the dragon beings. Dragons and snakes are kind of like the same family a little bit, but dragons are much older, a little more grumpy perhaps, and very much part of the infrastructure of planet Earth.
To do with the electromagnetics
Yes,
of the planet.
exactly. Whereas the serpent beings is a little bit more to do with our personal dragons, our kundalini energy, and all of the other things we've talked about many times before from the male and female serpent lineages of the stellar nations, which is interestingly connected very much to the Anunnaki beings, which is where the dragon glyph is mostly located, in an area that was very connected to those ancestors, who of course also had a big part to play in the Sumerian era.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. That's probably worthy of another show. You can tell what me and Bella get up to in our spare time is looking at all of this stuff. And by the way, if you program into the social media channels watching certain types of footage, like about Sumerians, you will find that you get positive algorithmic feedback. So that's also another way that we can understand that we're starting to elevate some of the technology around us and get it working for us. So I just wanted to share that thought. We can also say that this planet is deeply connected to the Aztecas, who are, of course, very much connected to the Mayans also, and they use Tarragon for safe passage and for offerings to their rain god, Tlaloc. Now, the Artemises in general are also good for traveling. Mogul is very much recognized as a protector of travelers, but also it's really good for putting into our feet, because we can take the volatile oils through our feet and thus give us more chi energy, which is what the Romans used to put into their sandals when they went on long marches, apparently. So we can do all of these things ourselves. And of course, we did talk about this being connected to venoms, which is probably something useful, but it's also very much connected to removal of parasitic energies, whether it's the little grommets in our digestive system, which is why it's good for digestion sometimes, but perhaps in this moment more for repelling energetic parasitic energies that might want to perhaps siphon a bit of our energy off. So these are all things we've talked about a lot before, but this is a very, very sort of fiery plant.
I love it because it's connected to fire, and the fire element is the castle, the red castle. We're starting in the Tzolkin, and to Mars, which is where all of this new energy of Venus and Neptune, and the new cycle is going to Aries. So beautiful synchronicities with all of that.
Exactly. So we did mention this before. If you want to get to know your inner medicine wheel, your inner dragon energy, your inner Draco coordinates, your inner elementals through your astrology, this is a really beautiful course. We put a lot of time into this when everyone who's done it has really, really loved it and got a lot from it. But also it's showing how to go inwards and connect with your dragon self. And many people still questioning a dragon's real. Are they something from the movies? They're absolutely a frequency being, and they are part of what holds up the very structure of our reality, and thus the very structure of us. We have our own inner dragons. We go into how to not only meet dragons, but many other very interesting elemental beings too.
So when we talk about dragons, we're talking here about electromagnetic fields. Our electromagnetic field, which is a toroidal field, but also the one for the planet, and the currents that go around the planet carrying these energy.
So I just wanted to highlight that for people who are wanting to start this Tzolkin on a new foot. We are really serious when we say that you can talk to your dragon selves. And once you do, you will start to understand what this means for you at a soul level, and perhaps more connection for you into working with dragon energy in the grids. It's very difficult to talk to dragons if you don't know their language. So if you want to do dragon work, I suggest meeting your own ones, and they will teach this to you. So that's really it, Bella, I think. Yeah.
Happy New Galactic Spin. And
Yes.
this is what we wanted to share. I also want to remind, just to wrap up, that all of these energy coming from Venus and from Neptune, which is the higher octave, is reminding us of what does our heart truly desire? What is it that your heart has been telling you? Hey, get ready. I want you to do this. What gives you fulfillment? What is bringing more harmony and optimism into your life? Because all of that, as we do things that we love, it will reflect in our relationships. It will reflect in the people around us. It will raise the frequency, and the evolution and ascension process is about a frequency. It's about lifting our vibration. It's a frequency shift, and that's how we can also expand our consciousness.
Beautiful. So there we have it, everybody. That is our sort of preview show for this incoming Tzolkin, and of course the overview of the astrology and the red magnetic dragon energies themselves. As always, please do hit like and subscribe, and definitely please put comments, everybody. It does make a big difference. The interaction on the page assists us in our ongoing
Yes. Below, are you starting the new Tzolkin with us?
yeah.
And are you going to follow it for the 260 days? It is a commitment to yourself on like raising your vibration through following the 13-day wave spell.
And perhaps are you one of those people out there who've been watching our shows for a year or two but have never jumped into anything? We've just had a whole bunch of new people enter into our tribe who've been watching our videos for a while and suddenly decided they wanted to step up, take part in an immersion or the flying school or heaven on earth, or in some cases, all of the above. And as a consequence, they have kick-started themselves into a whole new cycle of this incarnation for them, all of which we can all do. And we're inviting each and every one of you to take the plunge into a new way of being, working with all the things that we work with. And hopefully you'll find it as interesting and exciting as we do. So that's it really, Bella, I think, for this week and for this show. In Lakesh, everybody, I am another you, and welcome back to another galactic spin with this Tzolkin. And we'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.